All right, here we go. So problem number 1, which points are on the graph of the equation 3 minus 6x plus 2y equals -5? Select all that apply. So I was just doing this problem with my group number 1, and we were talking about how it wants you to see which points are on the graph, but there's no graph in front of you. So since there's no graph, the strategy is to put each point into the equation and then see if you end up with the same answer. So in the first point that we plugged in a -2 for x and a -10 for y, and we ended up with -5 equals -5. So in this case, I knew that I had this point is on the line because I had the same answer. So can anybody give me a point that they would want me to check? Anyone have one that they know is on the line so that I can show it?
-2, -10.
Well, I already did that one, -2, -10. Is there another one?
6, 14.
6, 14. All right, let's check it out. So 6, 14. So I'm plugging in 6 for x and 14 for y. And I want to get -5. So let's see if I do. So here, 6 times 6 is 36. So I have 3 minus 36. And then 2 times 14 is 28. 3 minus 36, what's that?
-33.
Good, -33. And then -33 plus 28, does that give me -5?
Yeah.
It sure does, yes. So we end up with the same answer on both sides. So I know that this point is correct. Now, can anybody share with me a point from this selection that is not correct so that we can see what that looks like?
-1, 1.
Okay, so I'm going to plug in -1, 1, just so that we understand the difference, so we can see what it looks like when it's not on the line. Plugging in -1 for x and +1 for y. Here, -6 times -1 is +6. So this is 3 plus 6 plus 2. 3 plus 6 is 9. 9 plus 2 is 11. And 11 does not equal -5. So that's why -1, 1 is incorrect. Now with the last two, can anyone tell me, I'm not going to do them, but who can tell me which one is in and which one is out? Or maybe they're both in, or maybe they're both out.
I got both in.
Both in? Does anyone have something different? I'm seeing that somebody has 0, 4 is out. So let's check that.
Wait, I think it's out because I put 0, -4.
Oh, oops. Okay, let's check out 0, +4. So this would be 3 minus 0 plus 8. 3 minus 0, 0 is 3, I mean. So 3 plus 8, yeah, that's not for -5. 3 plus 8 is 11. So that's also out. And then 4, 8, that one is in. All right, so any questions on this strategy? Any questions on how to do this type of problem? Awesome. This is the type of question where you really just want to be organized, make sure, like Lauren accidentally put in a -4 instead of a +4. Like those little mistakes can happen. So we just want to make sure we're being very careful with these. Because it's not a hard problem, it's just, it takes a little bit of time. All right, number 2. How does the graph of the function f of x plus 3 parentheses minus 2 compare to the graph of f of x? Who can share with me the correct response?
I mean, B.
B. So f of x plus 3 minus 2 is shifted left 3 units and down 2 units. That is correct. What did we have to be very careful about in this problem?
Where it shifts at.
And which of those is counterintuitive?
Counter and what?
Counterintuitive. So which of those is backwards to what you would think? And this goes for anyone can answer that question. Which of those numbers is the opposite of what you think it's going to be? Yeah. So when we look in the parentheses, I see a +3, but I know that that's going to be the opposite. So when I see +3, I know that this is moving to the left. So some of you guys might have chosen C because it looks like it's going to be going to the right, but we have to remember to switch it up. So this is not correct. C is not correct, and neither is A or D. Questions on number 2?
Miss, he doesn't have a 3.
Say that again.
C, it doesn't have a 3.
Oh yeah. Oops. I think that was just a typo on the website, but yeah, that should say right 3 units. But that one was trying to get you to think, you know, that what you see is what you get. But really, we know that what we see, we have to flip it around. But that only happens inside the parentheses, okay? So on the inside of the parentheses, that's telling me to go to the left. But on the outside of the parentheses, this -2, that is exactly what I know it's going to be. That's going to go down 2 units. So left 3 units and down 2 units. Any other questions on this one? Awesome. Number 3. Here's another one with transformations. So the graph of a linear function f and g are shown on the grid. Which function is best represented by the graph of g? Does anyone think they know this one?
Well, I put B, but I don't know.
Okay, and why did you put B?
Me too. Because it was less steep.
Yeah, it's less steep. So f and g, the only difference that happens between f and g is that one is more steep than the other. And B is correct because we know that g of x is less steep than f of x. Now, I wanted to go over something really quick on this one because you might see this on the test. I just want to make sure we understand the vocabulary. When you have, so less steep versus more steep, you guys might want to write this down in your notebook. So less steep, that's called a vertical compression. Because when you compress something, it kind of gets smaller. Does that sort of make sense? When you kind of squish something down when you compress it. So less steep, the vocabulary word is vertical compression. And when something is more steep, the vocabulary is vertical stretch. Because it's kind of like you're pulling it, like you're getting longer. So those are the words. So B is vertical compression. Which of these would be a vertical stretch? Which answer choice?
F of x?
So on the graph, f of x is the vertical stretch, but between all the answer choices, which
Is it D?
would give you a vertical stretch?
D?
D, yeah, because we're multiplying by +3. So this would be a vertical stretch. That would make it, that would be if it was something like this, like if g of x was even steeper than f of x, that would be the correct answer. So that's what a vertical stretch looks like. And then what would A do to the graph?
Bring it down.
Good. This would be down by 4. And then answer choice C would be
Down by 2.
down by 2. Exactly. All right, so good to be able to see it both on a graph and also how they write it mathematically. Any questions on number 3? All right, cool. Number 4, equivalence point. Select all the values of x for which f of x equals g of x. So where are we looking here?
Where they meet up.
Good, we're looking at where they meet up. So I'm seeing right here and then down there. And importantly, we can look at the coordinate point. So for example, this is 4, 6. And then down here, it's -1, -4. But which of those values are they asking for?
X.
Yeah, only the x values. So what are the only two answer choices?
-1 and 4.
-1 and 4. Exactly. So remember that with this type of problem, it's always going to look for the value of x, not the value for y. Questions on number 4? All right, number 5, going right through. The functions f of x and g of x are represented in the tables below. What is the x value of the solution to the equation f of x equals g of x? How about this one? So this is
3, -2.
okay. So I was just going to say this is very similar problem. It's just that over here we had a graph and then over here we had a table, but we're still looking for the same place, or for the place where they are the same. So we see that they both have 3, -2. That's the only one that matches. So the answer to the question, because it's asking what is the x value, what would be the answer to this question?
3.
X equals 3. That's it. We don't want to, I don't care about the y value. I'm just asking for the x value. Is there any other place where they are the same?
No. Well, yes, sort of, but
Where they are exactly the same?
no.
No. It looks like they're close over here, but one is positive and one is negative. That is not the same thing. All right. Any questions on number 5? All right, number 6. So number 6, I did with another group. However, I'm going to skip number 6 and I'm going to do number 7 because it's very similar. So I'll do 7 all the way through, and then we'll go back to number 6 to look at it. So let's look at number 7 first. A function is given as f of x equals 2x minus 6, and the function g of x is seen in the table below. So I have f of x, and I have g of x. F of x and g of x. And I need to compare them. So what are all the things I need to know about both of these functions?
They already have the x-intercept and the y.
Good. So on which one? The table or the equation?
Table.
Table. So tell me, what is the y-intercept and what is the x-intercept?
The y-intercept is 3. The
Mhm.
x-intercept is 1.
Good. 3 and 1. We know this because we look for the zeros. All right, can anyone tell me something else I know about either of these?
For f of x, we already know the m,
Mm-hmm.
and we already know the b.
Good. What is the m
2.
and what is the b?
-6.
Good. So there's just 2 things I need to figure out. For g of x, I need to figure out the slope. And for f of x, I need to figure out the x-intercept. So can anyone tell me how to do one of these 2 things?
For f of x, I still haven't found the x yet.
Okay. So does anyone remember, how do I figure out the x-intercept for f of x?
I believe you input 1, 0.
You're on the right track.
For g of x. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. It does have something to do with plugging in. How do I figure out the x-intercept?
Plug in a 0 for y.
Yeah, that's it. So when you're looking for the x-intercept, you're going to put a 0. Where do I put it?
For f of x.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're going to replace f of x with 0 because I know that wherever I have an x-intercept, I know my y is going to be 0. So I replace f of x with 0, and then I see what I get for x. So what do I get? What do I do?
You add the 6 on the other side.
So I have 6 equals 2x.
Then you divide by 2.
And you divide by 2, and I end up with
3.
3. So x equals 3. My x-intercept is 3. And now the last thing I need to know is the slope for g of x. So how do I get the slope of g of x?
Rate of change solution.
Rate of change. Pick 2 points, plug them into the rate of change formula. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. We might as well use the points I already have highlighted. So what do I write into my formula?
0, subtract 3,
Mm-hmm.
and 1, subtract 0.
Beautiful. 0 minus 3 is negative 3. 1 minus 0 is 1. I end up with m equals negative 3. Now let's compare. Comparing, which one has the larger slope or the greater slope?
F of x.
Okay, and why do you say f of x?
Negative 3 is not greater than 2.
Right, so negative 3 is a smaller number than positive 2, right? However, does anyone remember a little trick that needs to be considered? We did this on one occasion, so we might have forgotten.
You have to see how far it is from the 0.
Yeah. When we compare slope, I don't care about the actual value of the number. I want to know the absolute value of the number. We use the absolute value. Nice job, Bianca. Nice job. Absolute value. So what does that mean? That means I want to know which of those numbers is closer or how far away they are from 0. So in other words, the absolute value of positive 2, how far away is 2 from 0?
5.
2.
Not how far away they are from each other, but how far away each of those is from 0.
2.
So yeah, the absolute value of 2 is 2. And what's the absolute value of negative 3?
3.
3.
3, positive 3. So when I look at the absolute value, which one is greater?
Negative 3.
Negative
Yeah.
3, exactly. That one's actually greater because on a graph, the only thing that the negative does is that it makes it either go upwards or it goes downwards, right? The negative just controls if it's a positive slope or if it's a negative slope. The actual value of the number, so the absolute value, so 2 and 3 tell me how steep it's going to be. So I know that even though g of x is facing downward, it's a much steeper hill than f of x because 3 is greater than 2. So in that case, which of these is my correct answer?
B.
B. All right, so that's just something to always keep in mind when we compare two slopes. I don't care about positives and negatives. I just want to know the absolute value. Questions on that? Cool. So with that in mind, I'm going to go back to number 6 because this was very similar. Here we needed to compare, again, a table and then a graph. So for the table, we were able to figure out the slope using the formula. We got m equals 2. It also gave us the x-intercept, so that was easy enough for us to have. And then we found the slope by using the slope-intercept formula. So down here, this was how I figured out, not the slope, sorry, the y-intercept. So this was finding the y-intercept. Right, so we plugged in a point from the table, and then we figured out the value of b, and we got b equals 4. So for f of x, I had everything I needed. And then for g of x, I had to look over on the graph and figure out the y-intercept, the slope, and the x-intercept all from the graph. And we realized that the slope was 2. We did rise over run, and we got 2. We also knew that the y-intercept was 0, negative 4. And the x-intercept was 2, 0. So we were able to get everything just by looking at the table, which made the correct answer choice C. G of x has a greater x-intercept than f of x. So do I have any questions on number 6? 6 and 7 were very similar. Questions on this type of problem? Cool. All right, 3 more. Now we have inequalities. So remember that with inequalities, the symbol is very important. And in this case, I have an inequality that has a dotted line. If you couldn't tell, it's a little bit hard to tell, it's a little bit blurry, but that was a dotted line. And where is this shaded? Is this shading up or down?
Below.
Yeah, below. So which symbol do I use when I have a dotted line shaded below?
The less than symbol.
Less than, just less than. So since everything else in these answer choices was exactly the same, the symbol was the only thing that mattered. A is my answer. Question on number 8, problem 8. Now, if the answer choices had different numbers in them for the slope and the y-intercept, that would just be something else to look at and something else to find on the graph. So I know that the slope is 2 because you could have done rise over run, and I know that the y-intercept is negative 6, but that's because they gave that, we didn't need to find it in this case, but sometimes you do. So do I have any questions on how to do that? Okay, so this was slope-intercept form, but then what about when you have an inequality in standard form? What do you always need to do first?
Turn it into slope-intercept.
Good, we're gonna convert this to slope-intercept because standard form is gonna sometimes throw us off. It doesn't really give you any useful information about the graph, so we have to convert it. What do I do first?
Subtract 3x.
Nice, subtract 3x. So I have negative 4y is less than or equal to, and what do I write on the right-hand side?
Negative 3x plus 24.
Mm-hmm. And now what happens?
You divide by negative 4, and that will change the symbol.
Awesome. That's why standard form is tricky, because sometimes the symbol is going to flip, and that's why we have to convert it first so that we know what type of symbol we actually have, because now it turns out I actually have a greater than or equal to sign. And if you had just looked at the symbol to start with, you would have had the wrong answer because you have to be in slope-intercept form. All right, so greater than or equal to what?
3/4.
Mm-hmm.
Negative 6.
Minus 6, good. All right, so this is my equation. And from the symbol tells me everything I need to know. I know that this is going to be what type of line, dotted or solid?
Solid.
Solid line. Shading where?
all solid, so
That's true. And where does it shade?
above.
On the
Yeah, above. Which means only one answer is correct. Which one is it?
C.
C. Okay, now actually, we know it's C, but which other graph is shading above?
A.
A is also shading above. So how did you choose between A and C?
It for the for the y axis, it was not on the -6, so you could already tell by that.
We were looking for one with the y-intercept at -6, which works out for C, but does not work out for A. What else could you have used?
The rate of change.
The rate of change is positive. So it has a positive slope.
And as it's going up, it doesn't match with the line.
Yeah, and A has a negative slope. So we know that C is the only one. It's the only one that matches. Questions on number 9? We're about to run out of time, so very, very quickly, number 10. We're just looking for, this is a dotted line. So the answer choices are going to be, if they have to be solutions, where do they have to be located?
Inside the shaded area.
Inside the shaded area. Can they be on the line?
No.
No. So which ones are the only ones? Who can quickly?
7, comma -5 and 1.
And 4, 1. Everything else was, well, actually, hold on. -2, -6. No, +6. Yeah, that one's also out. -1, -8.
It could be, but the 1 is a little out of the shaded area.
Well, yes, but when you go down to the -8, it's actually in the shaded area. So -1, -8, that one actually is in. Everything else was out.
Oh, so it doesn't matter like what the x and y axis is. If that number is in the shaded area, that means it could be the solution.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have to go to that actual point. All right, guys, so that is everything. I already went over this slide, so no homework on Khan Academy for tonight. Just study, study, study. I'll see you guys tomorrow. You're going to rock it. Have a good day.
Have a nice day, Miss Lopez. See you tomorrow.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Oh, by the way, I'll finish the Khan Academy I had C's on.
Okay, good.